All right, so today's message is from a guy, and I love when I get messages from anyone and everyone. End of story. But when I get a message from a man, it hits me slightly differently because I'm a man, because my dad was a man and he passed away, and he's just a plain example of living and dying in silence. And when I get a message from a man that is still alive, that is like, yo, I have spoken out, or I haven't spoken out yet, but I want to. And it's just, they're literally saving their own lives by taking that step. It's the beginning step of saving their own life. And they might not see it now, but when the years go on and they feel freer and everything's completely changed because they took that step, and then they realize, shit, okay, I'm so glad I've done that because of now what my life looks like. It's huge. It's huge. Anyway, so it's a relatively short message. He just says, "Hi, Perry. I was abused by my dad when I was young, talking over 50 years ago now. I've never spoken about it. He's dead now anyway. But I feel like I'm too old now to speak out. What's the point?" Listen, first of all, it's so common for when I get a message from someone that's of an older generation, for them to have this belief where it's like, well, I've been on this planet for 70 years. I haven't spoken out about it. So what the fuck's the point of doing it now? First of all, my first answer to that is the fact that you're even messaging me. The fact that you even messaging me that is the point, is the proof that you need. Because if you are like, well, I'm on this planet for, what do you say? He's been on this planet for 50 years. That was 50 years ago. So he's in his 50s, 60s, 50s, 60s. Let's just say that. Okay. So he's in his 50s, 60s. And so he's been on this planet for 50, 60 years. And if he's like, I've lived a fantastic life. I've lived such an amazing life. And I've kept it silent. I've dealt with it in my own way. Nobody knows about it. And I'm amazing. Cool. Great. Do what works for you. But I've come across one person and she's in her early 30s, and she says that, it happened to me and I haven't spoken out about it, and I'm cool. I'm fine. She goes, but I'm just waiting for some people to pass away in the family, and then I will speak about it. And I didn't push her on it or anything. I'm like, you know what? If you believe that you're good, cool. My message and what I do here is mainly for those people who are suffering in silence. And it's like 90%, probably 99% of people who are abused. So the chances of this particular person, of you, if you're watching this, of that you have lived on this planet for 50, 60 years, and it's been the best time of your life, and you don't feel like you need to do anything about it, great. But I can bet everything that's not the case. You really probably wouldn't have messaged me. You might have had some curiosity behind the message, though, should I? But I very much doubt that's the case. It comes back to what I said in, I think it was yesterday's video or the day before, where you don't know how much weight you're carrying until you let it go and you feel how much freer you are. I am so on the side of, with whatever you went through, you have to talk about it. There's steps that you can go through to make things easier, to maybe try to protect the family or the identity of whatever. The steps you can go through. But that's not the point in this video. The point is that you're gonna be a lot better off when you share that side of the story, when you share that truth of yours, whether you're 20, whether you're fucking 90 years old. Okay? You might think, well, I've been on this planet for 70 years and I haven't spoken about it, so why now? Well, the reason why it's why now is because how do you want to live the rest of your life? If you're 60 and you're going to be on this planet for another 40 years, and yes, I'm saying 40 because we're going to be triple number people. Yeah, we're not dying double digits, triple, all right? So if you're on this planet for 60 years, you've got another 40 left to go. Actually, that's probably a good thing. If that's one answer, is that if you're living in silence and you're 60, will you even make it to 100? I don't know. I don't think the odds are in your favor, because of the amount of stress, the amount, just that virus that's eating you inside, whether you see it or, and don't get it twisted. We are very, very, very good at creating false realities within here. Very good at it. And sometimes we force ourselves to believe it. Sometimes there's cracks in that. And, one moment be like, is that true? And then boom, you go back into, of course it's true. Of course it's true. There will get a certain point, though, where you start to see more cracks. And if that hasn't really happened yet, give it another year, give it another 5 years, give it another 10 years. So it comes back to the point of, well, if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and you're like, well, what's the point in sharing now? Well, do you want to live another 10, 20, 30, 40 years? And how do you want to live that? That's one thing. How do you want to live it? Just because you haven't done it yet doesn't mean that you should carry on doing it. Okay? Second of all is, if you're 50, 60, 70, you more than likely have kids or grandkids. And would you want them to open up if they went through something similar? You probably would, because you know what it's like to live in silence. So if you would want them to do it, why aren't you? Okay? Your heart's in the right place, but we can't be hypocrites. So you should do the same. Especially that inner child of yours. If you haven't spoken out about it, then I can guarantee you that inner child has been sitting as a prisoner within a cell with no windows for many years now. And you will really understand how much they needed a voice once you've given it to them. So this is going to be a relatively short video, because as far as I'm concerned, at the end of the day, I don't care what age you are. I don't care what you believe to be true. The fact is that you should just break your silence. There is every point in the world as to why you should do it, regardless of your age. Yeah. And also, actually, one thing I want to mention is that inside of our community, when we have countless things going on in regards to people's healing once they are fully breaking the silence and they're transitioning through that sort of growth period of writing their book and getting their story out there. And there are countless examples of people who, once they are living authentically and they've gotten they've released that trauma, that they start to sort of reverse in age. And it sounds so bizarre, but I'm not talking like you start to get rid of your wrinkles, right? I'm talking about your body starts to almost backtrack and starts to become younger. And it sounds bizarre, but I urge you to do some research in regards to trauma and what happens to the body once you release trauma. It is bonkers. It is bonkers. So if you're definitely within the older age bracket, that is a huge reason as to why you should do it, because of the benefits it will give you internally of releasing that trauma. It's going to be another world. Okay. So that is it. All right. I don't care what age you are. You share that story. All right. You can still go through the steps of breaking the silence to yourself first in as many different ways as possible. And then you can tell someone else. All right. Who is that person? That's, I'll leave that in your domain. But doesn't matter. All right. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your inner child. And you also owe it to the next chapter of your life that you're here on this planet for. Okay? And that's one of freedom. Don't get it twisted. Like, you can be 80 years old and still be jumping out of planes, still be jumping off of cliffs and just be the happiest person alive who feels complete freedom. Right? It doesn't mean that you have to be in your 20s or 30s to do that. You can do that now by letting go, being freer, and then you'll start to live the life that you want to live. All right? Cool.